مسافة Hullin Daf هي عمود على the first line. Amarav Yehuda Amarav. Nikeva Kinafa Mistarafim Deruba. If the trachea was punctured in many small holes, if they combine to be a majority of the trachea, the circumference, it is possible. مثل يمين في جوجل شيش بن نكيف أحد أروح. In case of a skull that had one big hole, if you even if there are many small holes, مستعفين more مخدع. They combine the size of a drill hole. I'm gonna say man, given this year, I'm there since the size has to be the size of a drill hole. The Milova this year they only combine for that. Achamam so as well. Given this year, like the Isar, since the measurement for the trachea is the size of an Isar coin, the Isar Mestafinan, when there's many small holes, they combine. Nothing to do with the trachea's circumference, majority of the circumference, only the size of the Isar coin. The Gemara says, answer, Ishtamite, even he forgot it. Had the Marabiya, had the Marabiya, what he said, Nekavim Shiesh Behen Hisran was I think the case that holes in the trachea combined for the size of the Isar to make it pasul. Which anybody Hisran Stefan Ruban when it's not, when they're just random holes without skin missing, punctures, yani, instead of missing, then you need majority. Nitela Emena Resua Mr. Kisar. The narrow strip of skin alongside the length of the trachea was removed, and that gap can combine to the size of the Nisar, it's Taref. What's the halacha if it's punctured like a sieve? I already said that. It's like Isar coin. If there's no deficiency and it's just the puncture holes, then it's just you go majority. What's the halacha regarding the bird? The trachea is punctured with holes. After you cut the holes from three sides, so it has a flap, you fold one flap over this trachea, and over the mouth of the tube. If the flap covers the majority of the trachea, which means most of that flap is the size of the hole, the flap is mostly the size of the hole with the holes in it. They have a hole in that flap. It's kasher. It's taref. If it's not majority, it's kasher. Marba v'simanech nafya. And remember that is a sieve, meaning if it's a sieve, it's possible. Let's say the trachea was made like a door, meaning it has a flap that's partially opened, swings open. It's possible if a coin, Isar coin can fit inside. This step five, let's split down the length. Even if only one band above the split and one band below it is mutar. So basically, the trachea is made up of a bunch of rings. So if one ring has with the cartilage around it until the next ring is there, one above, one below, it's kasher. Amruk Amar, we said, what do you mean the two bands? And you must say even if just a minute amount above and beyond, above and below. Amruk how he said that. Amar, we told him, he says, I wish our Babylonian friends from Babel were able to explain it, but we're only from Eretz Israel. تنار بحياة بريسات مكمل ريحان كل صبار كله كشيل شحيتان entire neck of the animals كشيل في شحيتان ميتبعات هكذا from the great ring which you mentioned prior the cricoid cartilage in the top of the trachea that surrounds it ad conferiat as well until the lower lung where the trachea reaches the lobes the lower part of the lung. Marava says Tatunashi Ilina. The Breta means lower lung, that's the part of the upper lung. Meaning, when it says lower, it means the lower lung because technically the animal is upside down when it gets slaughtered. So technically, lower lung is the upper part of the lung. Anytime the whatever extends in the neck area when it's stretching out its neck to be slaughtered, as long as you're not forcing it to stretch its neck. What if it's forcing itself? So you can't force the neck to stretch. But what if it's doing itself? Is that considered too far or not? Ron says teku. Let's say that the following they agreed on the following thing. If the slaughterer forced the shahida pipes out of the chest into the neck and slaughtered it, then it's possible. If the trachea was punctured below the too low, it's like a puncture of the lung, and therefore it's tarif. Tamran. Eza hazeh, what's considered the chest regarding shlamim? Zehru etakarka, that's what's facing the ground. So the part of the body that's parallel to the ground. The matana asavar, which goes downward to the neck, malaman kerekeres goes on the opposite the stomach, the pouch part of the stomach. You cut two ribs from two sides, on each side. That's the hazel that's given as the gift of the Kohanim. Next, you need karakrum shamua. We said the brain membrane is punctured is taref. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Levo said, Karama ila afagat lo indikative teta. The upper membrane is punctured, even though the lower membrane is not. Ram Mason will say, Ad indikative teta until the lower membrane is punctured as well. So according to the second version, both membranes must be punctured in order to be taref. Amar Shmuel Bar Rahman, with lower membranes is which one's which? The pouch, which the brain is, that is the lower membrane. The upper membrane is just attaching to the skull. That's like comparable to the betzim of the animal. The lower membrane is very thin, and the lower membrane is very thin and hangs to the actual testicles, and the bigger membrane, thicker membrane is on the outside. Regarding the brain, whatever inside the skull is considered the brain. Wherever the brain extends beside the top of the brain, the back of the head, yani, that's considered the spinal cord. And where does the brain become extending from there? The entrance to the cranium of the skull has a structure that looks like two beans. The occipital glands, the lobes. If anything inside those beans, quote unquote, is considered inside the brain, outside. But I don't know if the actual beans, quote unquote, themselves is considered part of the brain. I assume it's inside. Ravir checked the bird. He saw the same thing. The heart was punctured in its chamber. Is that the small chamber of the heart or the large chamber of the heart? What's the question? Regarding the lungs, it's not a taref unless the hole penetrates the bronchi, the chamber of the bronchi. And see the main bronchi, the primary bronchi. So it must be just like it's referring to the largest. So to over here, it's referring to the largest heart cavity chamber. You can't compare. Over there specifically mentioned the larger chamber of the bronchi. That's where all other bronchi mix in. Regarding the heart, it just says the singular heart cavity. What's the difference if it's large or small? Maybe they're both included. Regarding the pipe of the heart. We'll say that soon. Rabbi Mashu, as long as even the slightest puncture makes it taref. Ushmul Mar Bergor, Ushmul is the majority. I knew Kanela was considered the pipe. Mar Barab Sang Rav. Halev She'al Gabeh Tifano is the fat on the walls of the side of the animal. Next to the spinal column on the side of the ribs. Tifanot, mean the actual walls? Ella must be She'al Gabeh Tifano is referring to the fat on the walls of the lungs. Okay, my memory can you have the three pipes that connect from the trachea into the chest of the animal. Had perish the one goes to the heart, the had perish the one goes to the lungs, the had perish the kada one goes to the liver. Okay. The pipe of the lung is considered like the lung. The liver is like the liver. The then running the pipe of the heart, that's the machloket. He has the opposite. The pipe of the lungs like the liver. Yani liver has halakha, it's not taref unless completely removed. The liver pipe is like the lung halakha, which is any slightest puncture makes it taref. The heart. Outside of Yahya Yosef, Amarash Matad Rav Kamed Shmuel, he went and taught this halakha at the heart pipe, if the slightest puncture makes it taref. Amarle said to him, that's the case, he doesn't know anything about halachot terefa. Very strong wording. Next, Nishbar Hashidrav, the spinal column was broken and the cord was cut. it's taref. Number nine, Huda shidrash nifsak b'ruav. The animal's taref, the spinal cord was severed, cut majority. Divided by country, Yaakov, Meir, feeling like it's punctured. Or rather, be could be Yaakov, and it happened to be that you ruled according to the Yaakov. Marhuna, in al Chak Yaakov, Achaz, not like him. The common was considered majority. But Rav Amar, Shadov Uro, this the majority of the circumference of the skin, even if the nerve tissue is untouched. Amr la no, the nerve tissue itself is majority unique. Obviously, the opinion whole majority is nerve tissue. For sure, he agrees with majority of skin because nothing's protecting it. But according to when it says majority of the skin, what is it regarding the nerve tissue? Tashma being proved. Amri nizli amar rehuna. He said, "Rabosh amru rabus." When it says majority, means the skin. Moach zer lo ma'ale lo marid. Regarding the nerve tissue, it doesn't make a difference. So it means majority of skin. لما تبع ربنا وانت ذلك من الأب بدأت برب راضي check the skin. بكبديك برب محاضر when he started checking the nerve tissue. هذا يصير إم رب أروك يا موح زي إنه مع ذا بنوري. Once you check the skin is good, you don't need to worry about regarding the nerve tissue. أما برا بحنا مرة يجمع النبي متمرح حسوب متممس حسوب. If the nerve tissue has begun to liquefy, it's taref. If it's softened, it's taref. إذا مرحبا doing liquefying and softening. هم رح شكون بحكيتون. Liquefying means it pours out like liquid. Memsasa, the soften, hosh inu yachol la'amod, if it's unable to stand upright, it's unstable. Ba'ay rimia. Any yachol la'amod pnei kadomai, what's the halacha if it can't stand on its own weight? Because it's that considered softened or not. Teku, not sure. Be'erav Amri Rav said, the mez pasul, if it's softened, it's pasul. The mez kasher, but if it's lost the substance, it's kasher. Meaning it's like a concussion of the soft tissue. Metve, Rishon Omer, is where we mentioned mez mo hatrifa. We said an animal whose new tissue lost substance. Taref, where it says hahin itmar is referring to softened, not lost substance. Any is the case. But Allah vi havi aktiv b'mesut. One time, maybe was in the bathhouse. He saw a guy smash his head into the wall. Then he said this guy's brain is lost substance, meaning concussed. Must be he's gonna die. Must be that's taref. Same thing halacha for terefa for nerve tissue. No, let lamed she'enu malidi. It means lamed she'enu malidi. It means he can't have kids anymore. Where does the spinal cord go? That's considered tarefable. Taref. Mar de marshmal ad bena parashot until the branches, the where branches out of the back lobes of the animal. Ravzini Baisaka Vakava, and Baida Mesa the Behazai. Ravzini was traveling for Behazai. Ata the Kamed did a bit that they came to Ravida. Allah said to them, Lahabed the more Benavashodecha. Can you show me where the branches are? Of the nerve tissue in the back. Amala is go bring me a goat and I'll show it to you. Atli brought a fat one, he slaughtered and skinned it. Amala has it. Biliat fe too much fat and I can't show it to you. Actually, I brought a skinny one. Amala bilitat fe it's the bones stick out too much because it's too skinny, you can't show it to you. Amala says te admirag I'll teach you the tradition. Achim Mashmon said ad aha treva. Any break in the spinal cord from the neck until the first section of the cord by the branches of the hind legs makes it taref. Shishit kishan. The third section is kasher. Shani and about the middle second section. Ba'ir Ravuna Ba'ir Rav Yeshua. Now I have a question. Ad v'adlecha, when he says from the until the first section, is that including the first section? Is taref? Maybe not including the first section. But I have another question. When it says not including the first section, what's halacha regarding where it starts to when it first starts to branch off? Is that considered pasul or not? But another question. We want to say that it is including the first section. What's regarding the actual nerve break itself, where it starts the actual breakage before the first section? Tashma, when he said the branches is considered like meat. My love, even the first two branches are considered part of the meat, and that will make it taref. Sorry, it would not make it taref. It would be considered regular meat. No problem if it's cut there or anything. Remember, says Lash, she's referring to the third branch. No connection to the Echot Terefa of the system. Baruch Hanam, man.